how to choose your cast, your actors, as a producer specifically. Whether it's a $5 million film or a $5 film, the choices you make are going to be really significant and not just creatively. Welcome to The Leap, my video diary where I share my journey, my process as I work towards making that leap from the self-produced, tiny budget productions to the multi-million-dollar film and beyond. In this episode, I'm going to talk about casting as it pertains to every budget level. And as always, I'm going to leave you in the episode an optional assignment. So watch through for my assignment. It's always one that takes 2 to 10 minutes. And if you have any comments or questions, leave them below. I'm going to answer your questions either directly or in future episodes. And if you like what you see, if you're finding it useful, you know what to do. Okay, let's get started. Welcome to the Independent Film School. I'm Thier. Welcome. We're going to talk about casting today. As far as an update on my own project, it's a big hurry up and wait game. The actors I most wanted have read my script, have liked it, have asked to see work that I've directed. I speak about that process and how I got there in previous episodes. In this episode, I'm going to talk about casting. Now, creatively speaking, the script you choose and the actors you choose are your most important decisions. They're on par. I would say the script and the actors, the performances, that's really what determines the quality of a film. Everything else is in the service of that. It's the quality of the writing and the performances. So as a director, that's really the most important decision that you make, is who's going to perform in the film. I will sneak in at the end of this episode a couple of tips on how to think about casting as a director, how to choose those actors that will best serve your film. But right now, I'm going to talk about production, how to think about casting as a producer. So let's start with the self-produced micro-budget productions, whether it's $4, $0, $400, or $40,000, anything in between. How to think about casting as a producer. Here's the most important tip I'm going to leave you with. Don't just think creatively about which actor best fits that role. Think about which actor is going to pull up their sleeves and get their hands dirty and produce it with you. Because your lead role or your lead roles, those are your best bet at finding someone who is going to become personally invested in the work, who is going to care about it as much as you do. And when you have somebody in the lead who is just all in, this is their chance to showcase what they can do as an actor. They're going to be as excited and invested in you as you. So they might help you, pound the pavement when you're trying to raise those $10,000 from friends and family. God knows I've done that so many times. They may be your cheering squad. They may be your confidant. They may be the person who goes through hoops to find that location, to find another location when that location falls through. The person you can get on a call with at 3 a.m. when you're about to shoot the next day and you just found out that the weather is working against you or whatever it is, that's going to be your partner in crime. And so I strongly encourage you, don't just hold auditions and sit back eating your sandwich and look for that actor who fits the role. Make it a point as a producer to look for an actor who's going to produce with you. Now, sure, best if they have production experience, absolutely. But even if they don't, it's good enough. It's good enough to have somebody in the lead role who is coming in with the spirit of a co-creator, of a producer, even if they have no experience doing it. They will learn on the job, pound the pavement, try things, go to people, be resourceful. So if they have the willingness to do that, and they have the proclivity, they're resourceful, they can reach out to people and try things, that's good enough. And then you get another producer in there with you who is very familiar with physical production. That's tip number 1. Get somebody in the lead who will produce with you. Promise me you'll do that. Okay. Tip number 2, when it comes to the micro-budget, the self-produced micro-budget films, is rather than write something and then look for that magical actor, they're out there. If you put the word out and you pitch yourself and pitch the project, make it attractive, make it sound like a meaningful project, you will get people who will be interested. But the shortcut to make it much easier for you, I recommend that from the get-go, write a script for an actor friend who's totally gung-ho to produce with you. Have that conversation with a collaborator, with a potential collaborator who's an actor you love. Maybe you know them from school, from something, from whatever. Go take an acting class if you don't know any actors, and just to make some actor friends, meet some actors, and write something specifically for an actor you have in mind who will fill that role very well, who's a wonderful performer, and they'll produce with you. In my own life, my feature film, Tomorrow Ever After, I purposely wrote the co-leading role for Nabil Vinyas. I loved him as an actor. I knew he would do a phenomenal job, and I knew that he would really throw in. Now, he had no production experience, and we did have 2 more producers on the project, Nikolai Metin and Ina Browdy. But Nabil, who started as I called him a creative producer, he emerged as a full-fledged producer. And by the time we were working on the distribution of the film, on publicizing it, which is such hard work, and at that point, you are so burnt out. Having that person who had a lead role, who is personally invested in the film, let me tell you, I wouldn't have been able to do it without, would not have. And also Memo, who plays a role in the film, he played a huge role in being like the cheerleader, and who kept, went to festivals with me, kept the thing going. Oh my gosh, it made such a difference. I was so wise that I wrote those roles for them. Bad Writing was a short that I specifically wrote for Rocio Mendez. She wasn't a producer, but boy, she really worked hard for this production. She brought me, she did the choreography, she brought me fighters to it. She, just like hell or high water, really threw in and made it happen. That's what it takes to create a micro-budget film. So I want you to think about that when you cast your leads. Now, how do you think about casting as a producer when you're creating those multi-million-dollar productions and beyond? Same thing. Same freaking thing. Your lead actor needs to be willing to pull up their sleeves and get their hands dirty and be producers. It is a lot of work to make a film. It's a lot of work. And I would insist that the lead actor partner with me in, lending their contacts to the project, making those phone calls, putting the Rolodex out, raising the financing, the distribution, all of it. Now, more and more these days, actors and well-known actors have their own production company with first look deals in major studios, etc. So I think that's your best bet, or at least one who, even if they haven't done it, intends to, wants to, etc. So the 2 actors who I'm now waiting to hear on, who love my script or watching my work, I'm waiting to hear. They have produced work. I know they have a production company, and so I feel, good about this fit. If they're interested, I have partners here who are industry insiders who can really bring the project to fruition. I once managed to backdoors, etc., get my script in front of a well-known actress. She had a regular part in a mega hit series. It was like #1 in syndication. And so she was very well known, and she read my script and she really liked it. This was referencing episode number 2 when I was talking about actors and backdoors. I took the approach of raising some of the money, and so I had some seed money, and so I did have a casting director who was willing to send an offer, even though we weren't fully financed. She read the script, and she liked the script, and she wanted to do it. So I felt like, woo, my big break. This well-known actress wants to be in my film. This is so cool. And it ended up being one of the, many attempts I've made that didn't work out, because although she was interested in doing it, she was not a partner as far as production went. She was basically, and I think that's what she was advised to do by her agent and manager. They basically said to me, when you raise the money, come back to us. I had no contacts. I didn't even know where to turn. And frankly, she was great, but she wasn't enough of a name where I could raise, several $1 million. I didn't even know where to turn, and this was years ago. I had way fewer contacts than I have now. I just had a great script, and I was a great director already. I had done some work, but I had no contacts, no industry contacts. And she is somebody who was such an industry insider. If she wanted to make that film, it would have just taken like a phone call or two and the money would have been there. And so I think she was ill-advised by her reps. And I think she made a mistake because she would have had a lead in an amazing film. But she needed to play that part of helping me, get it funded and distributed. So I cut the rope. I parted ways. Even though she was such a name, blah, 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 I ended up not proceeding with that project. And I did not proceed with her because you really need somebody in the lead role to produce with you. That's the tip of the day. Whether it's $5 or $5 million, the person in the lead role has to be willing to throw in and get personally invested. One last thing I want to say, since this is a series about making that leap from the tiny budget, self-produced stuff to the multi-million-dollar films, that when I talk about a known actor, there's a big hierarchy of what known actor means. You've got your A-listers whose salary is above $20 million and they only do studio films that are made with $100 million. And it's a waste of time to try and get them in your $3 to $5 million film. But besides those, there are many actors who will seriously raise the profile of the film and will open a lot of doors for you, a lot of doors. So you want to look for that actor who, they are industry insiders, even though they may not be the $20 million whatever. It's icky to say, but it's a business. It's an icky business. And when you're trying to raise financing for a film sales agent who's going to try to pre-sell your film to get the financing, I discussed that in episode 2, they're not even going to read the script. They just want to know who's in it. And they have charts. And based on who's in it, they can tell you how much money that film is going to make, ballpark, and that's how much they're going to sell it for, ballpark. So they just look at, how well known the actor is, and based on that, they determine how much funding they could raise, if any, for the film. So that's one of those things where you have to consult with a film sales agent or a consulting producer and determine how much money you could raise with this person attached or with this person attached, etc. I say it's icky because while you play that icky game, you have to remember reality. Reality is that no human being is worth more than another human being ever. I don't care how famous they are. I don't care what their income is. I don't care what kind of financing they can bring. I don't care. I don't even care how good an actor they are or how bad an actor they are. The reality is that every human is infinitely precious and valuable. And the fact that we put price tags on actors, it's a symptom of how capitalism impacts the arts, hurts the arts, And so when you play that numbers game of how much money you can raise with which actor, remember reality. Nobody is worth more than another human being. Nobody. I don't care if they're emperor of the universe. They're not worth more than the person who, cleans the bathrooms in the bodega down the street for me. Remember that. Okay, I promised to sneak in a couple of tips on how to choose cast as a director, not as a producer, when you're thinking creatively. So my secret sauce is, if I don't write for an actor I love, which is what I usually do if I'm actually auditioning actors, I look for two things. I look for those actors who don't act. I look for actors who, when they read scripted lines, I just think I'm listening to a person talking. I don't feel like I'm watching a performance. If I feel like I'm watching a performance, then I'm watching a performance. It's going to take me out of the story. So I look for that, and I look for actors who are connected to their feelings, who can be vulnerable. Now, I don't in the audition room bring in a scene for an actor to perform that's like the mega crescendo, height of heights, monologue, big fight or whatever. I don't bring those scenes in, but I will bring a scene that is moving, where a little crying would be appropriate. I look for that. I'll be honest with you. I look for an actor who can pretty easily access the tears, the laughter, the feelings. So those are the two things I look for. What I don't look for is necessarily somebody who exactly fits the description in the script. In fact, if I find that lead actor who will produce with me, who will personally invest themselves, whatever the budget, who does not act like an actor, who's just, can just be themselves when they perform, who it can be vulnerable and feel their feelings. When I find those three things, I will change what's in the script to fit them, or even write for them. But I will happily just go into a script and revise it completely, even so that the role fits the actor I want to work with. I might change their gender, I might change their age, I might change, so it won't be a mom, it'll be a grandmother, whatever it is. I'll change the story to fit the actor. Optional assignment. Write this down. I'm going to read it off. This is exactly what you're going to write. I'd like to write and produce a short script for a talented actor who would be open to playing the lead and produce the film with me. Put in one short sentence on who you are, either your experience or your personal mission statement. I create films that empower women. Just one sentence that kind of locates you. And then say, send me your reel, or send me your acting reel at, and either your email or create an inbox specifically for this. And then post this blurb in a Facebook group for actors who are local to you, or its equivalent. And then hold on to your seatbelt, because you're going to get a lot of actors sending you reels. You might also want to add, send me your reel and information about your production experience. Even if this is scary and you don't plan to produce anything, I think you should do this assignment just to see who shows up. You can drop the ball and never follow through on any of this, but it'll be a good experience for you to see who's out there who would totally produce with you if you offered to write them something. Key takeaways. If you're creating a super tiny budget or no budget film, you're producing it yourself, cast in the lead someone who will produce with you, or from the get-go, write a project for someone you know who's a talented actor who will produce with you. If you're looking to raise those $3 to $5 million and go into that range, same thing. Cast in the lead a known actor who produces work or would like to produce work, so they can help you get it made. Thank you. Thanks for your courage. I'm Thier. If you just found me, I recommend heading over to episode 1 and following my efforts sequentially. You can also click below to join me at theindependentfilmschool.com. I've trained thousands of screenwriters and filmmakers, many training sessions. Most of what I offer is free. Click below to join me there.